and onto the Rift we do jump. Like a trampoline, we bounce our way into it as Jankos retreats out of the river. Treats is going to chase him away.
The trampoline doesn't bounce, the people on the trampoline bounce.
Yeah, but we jumped onto the trampoline, and like on a trampoline, we bounced.
Kevin in my
into
ear,
this
just
bad
like,
discussion.
technically, the trampoline also bounces. Vedius, please.
It depends how much you jump on it, and how well secured it is on the ground.
Correct. Have you been on a trampoline recently?
Not recently, no. Last time I went on a trampoline, I was in high school, and I almost knocked out my front 2 teeth. Oh. But I had braces in, so even though I kneed myself in the head trying to do a front flip, my teeth stayed in, thankfully.
Oh, well, good thing.
Speaking
Gives you that winning smile.
Oh, exactly.
All right, so we are on to the Rift. I was having a look, seeing if anything crazy was happening in the game. Nothing too much. Observers, if you could quickly highlight that ward that's sitting on top of the blue buff. That was a little bit of information that SK was trying to go for in the early game to figure out where Jankos was starting. And that's going to very quickly be cleared out by Jankos thanks to his sweeper. But, of course, SK will still have this information. They can't guarantee yet what path Jankos will do, but it does look like that he is going to head towards the bot side of the map. Suggests that GenX will likely be getting that prio early, and given that Jezu and Limit are... Jezu and Lilip, rather, are assisting with the pull. Very likely that they will lose this early push, but we shall see how things play out. As Wonder already not taking a favor, but not actually running the Ignite, decided to run the Flash. Pretty interesting because often that Ignite gives you a lot more early game power with the Camille, which you can often lose, deciding that it probably wasn't worth it. Perhaps he thinks that even with the Ignite, it's not going to assist in the 1 versus 1. In any case, things looking pretty good for G2 in terms of pushing bots. Not so good on the top side. Very favorable for Janix in the meantime.
Okay, so do I have time for my cool graphic?
Hit me with the graphic.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Happy birthday, Jankos!
Oh, happy birthday.
It's his birthday.
Do you know how old he is today?
No, do you?
No, I think he's 25.
Asking me the question is a little bit unfair, but perhaps he's going to get a gift in the lane as he looks for this Gang Spectral. More goes wide. Blue with a good side step. Flashes away here, but Cap still has the chains, and Blue won't have his life much longer. Jankos gets the assist. A nice little birthday gift for the G2 jungler.
The birthday blood for G2. He will secure a nice kill in mid lane, and that's very much what you want to be doing when you're playing with the LeBlanc. We talked about how he could be pathing towards top, but instead he just does a full top side clear, gets himself the blue buff, goes to the level 3 play, and is able to find a successful gank, and he puts that into the back pocket of Caps. Much needed when playing this composition for G2, and we'll see what they can do off the back of it. Mickey now roaming up towards mid as well.
Yeah, we see this style of playing around mid that G2 have really exemplified throughout the course of summer. Jankos and Mickey teaming up, trying to get Caps as far ahead as possible, and Lilip read it, but didn't realize that Mickey and Jankos are waiting in the bush. Both of their flashes burnt. Actually, only Lilip's flash burnt there, as Blue is going to get chained. Treats coming in from the side as well to try and clear out this wave so that Blue can back away once again.
So a couple things happened there that were pretty interesting. Once again, happy birthday to Jankos. Been a part of our league for a very long time. Yeah. But what was interesting there was the fact that G2, they did a fast push in bot lane. Remember we said that they had the early prio. There's a big point at like level 3 where like waves contesting, junglers show up, all kinds of dangerous stuff can happen. But basically what G2 did was they fast pushed in bot and then they reset. So you saw Reckless, he's now got himself a longsword already. He decided to go back to base, and that actually opened Mickey up for a window where he could roam. But his main goal was to actually cover the bottom scuttle, because when Jankos showed up in mids,
it's fine,
Caps loses a lot of HP. The moment Jankos shows up in mid, whenever you try an early gank, there's actually a big window where the enemy jungler can like adapt their pathing, they can actually look to punish you. So Mickey roaming up was actually covering, as we see in all-in bot.
Treats is on his way as well. Rex is trying to get away with a heal. Mickey uses the Ignite on Jezu. Treats will look for that cleaver. Mickey stops still. Treats flashes forward. Mickey underneath the tower. One more cleaver won't be enough, and Jezu secures it. Is able to jump away before the tower shot comes in. Jankos on his way, though, in G2. Not done with this fight yet. Are TPing in. Jezu, no flash, no heal, no way to get away, but Caps with the TP is dead. On arrival, landed, and immediately met his demise. Jankos has to flash away from the scat of the week, and Treats is still on the chase. Another Bonesaw after Bonesaw landing here from Treats, and with surgical precision, SK find 3 kills.
And just like that, the game flips around. G2, they had a good start, but it's now been quickly punished, and once again, it's been through the bot lane. Last week, when SK got their win against the Mad Lions, it was by finding successful ganks through the bottom lane, and they're doing it once again here. Good stuff from SK, and definitely a good start for them.
A great start for them. Last week, as you say, they had a very strong start to the season, and we'll get rid of that as we come back into this replay.
So the all-in comes through. G2, Treats is now back onto the bot side of the map. That's where his camps are respawning, and the Wave is in a bit of an awkward spot for G2 because they're waiting for this push through to come through from SK. And like it was tied back to that conversation we were having, how they were playing these earlier waves where they end up getting punished. Now the TPs come in because G2 believe that Caps has managed to go back to base, spend some of his money, and the play can happen, but Caps invests his W very early on onto no one. That's a lot of his damage. He was trying to sidestep Lilip, who could potentially CC him, but without it, he ends up just losing his life. That means that Jankos then ends up in a situation where he is now overextended, and SK is able to turn it around. So I think that the comms there from G2, not the cleanest, not the most well executed, and SK is able to immediately turn it around and get a big punish.
It's so hard to disengage from this SK composition when they get on top of you. Jankos here, though. There's the Spectral Maw. Blue will fall. Jankos gets the kill, and now they're looking for more. Lilip will be chained up as the chase continues. Scatter the weak, knock back. Lilip stunned underneath the tower. Won't get away as the double kill comes in for Jankos on the Syndra. He's looking for more, trying to steal away that Leona, but won't be able to do it. And G2 are able to strike back with 2 kills of their own.
So waves have been very impactful in this early game, and I love how both teams are leveraging them to find themselves advantages in the bot lane. That level 2 play that was happening from the G2 bot with the push and the wave state meant that they got ganked. Now you can see that a bunch of SK members came around mid because they're trying to break the freeze in mid. They're trying to get this wave underneath the tower because Blue doesn't have flash. So what does G2 do? They respond in kind. Mickey comes up, the collapse comes through, Blue doesn't have the HP, and because he doesn't have a flash and he's being attacked from 3 sides, he ends up getting collapsed on by Jankos, and then all of a sudden we come to realize that Jankos, apparently a really good Syndra player, is able to land the stun. Well set up port by Cats with the chains, and they're able to get themselves 2 quick kills. And this all comes from the fact that SK is just trying to push mid in. If they don't, that wave is going to get frozen, Caps is going to get 6 first, then Blue is in even more trouble because he doesn't have the flash, and they end up getting punished for it. So really interesting stuff happening in this early game. But it seems that the goal is evened out a little bit more as we approach the 8-minute mark.
Yeah, very explosive. 500 goal between these two teams, but SK still able to find themselves small advantages here and there in terms of that Dragon. They now have an Infernal. Top lane has a lead for Genex. The rest of the map very much in G2's favor, with Caps picking up a kill and about a 9 to 10 CS lead. Reckless as well has had a little bit of free time down here, farming himself up on the Kai'Sa. Of course, very important game here for SK as they look to see if they can avoid this gank from Jankos. They should be able to do it, as Reckless and Mickey should just push in the wave.
As you rightly said, currently sitting at 4-9. That race for playoffs is a very difficult one for SK, sitting further towards the bottom of the standings. Getting a 2-0 week last week was huge for them. But you can see how big that gap is. Really, it's that fight for 6th between so many of these teams. If Astralis had gotten that win against Mad, it would have been huge for them in separating themselves from the pack. But at the same time for G2, they're not that far ahead. 2 wins, 5 games left, including this one, of course, which means that SK is still within reach of G2. If G2 lose all their games and SK win all their games, they are in a position where they could even overtake them. But only a few games left to play, and we'll see if SK can do it. A big upset last week. Can they maintain that momentum as they move in towards week 7?
I think the big thing is we're moving away from you needing 10 wins to guarantee yourself a playoff spot to now needing 9 wins to guarantee yourself a playoff spot. As we said earlier, if G2 win this, Mad Lions will lock in playoffs, and G2 will be only 1 win away. And see this early game action continues as the Rift Herald has been started up here. SK coming in, sort of pushing G2 away from it, but Jankos isn't having any of that. The smite goes down. Jankos stunned up for the moment. Heartbreaker for Blue has been dived on by Reckless on the backline, and Caps will take the kill. Rift Herald has been secured as SK look for a little bit more, but Wonder does still have the Hexic ultimatum here. Could blast Cone in and try and catch someone out. Rift Herald was picked up by Treats, but a kill was exchanged for the favor.
Bit of an awkward flash there from Blue in that fight. I think that he could have looked to flash over the wall, but I think he was worried about the Caps W. Ends up getting punished for it anyway. You can see here, SK bring all their members down, and G2 have all their members there as well. Treats with a good smite is able to secure it. You can see here, Blue, he kind of wants to flash towards his team, and I think he was hesitant to flash over the wall because he's just creating a bigger gap away from his team. But in either case, I think that he was dead, so he ends up losing his flash for nothing. And G2 grab themselves a kill while losing the Heralds. Now SK, with their bot lane up towards the top side of the map, they're going to try and drop this, secure themselves the first tower of the game. And given that G2's bot lane hasn't even gotten close to the tower yet. You can see how much further ahead in tempo SK is right now.
So how much gold will Jezu get out of this? Well, there's the first plate, 160 gold over to him. He's going to be able to get the rest of these as well. You can see slowly chipping away at this tower now, up to about a 500 gold lead as the tower falls. Oh, it's actually gone a huge amount higher than that. I forgot about first tower blood being added on top of that as well. 800 gold in advantage for Jezu. Reckless will be able to get a couple of plates down here, but you can see the reinforcements arriving for SK. Genax is already here, Treats is on his way as well, and as soon as you have a Mundo and an Urgot underneath the tower, it becomes a lot easier to defend a dive.
It certainly does. I was curious as to whether G2 would actually respond, given that Jankos was hovering around the bot side of the map, but as you rightly said, it's very risky diving that. It looks like Wonder is setting up a freeze towards the top side of the map. I do like that in this situation, because there's no Drake to play for right now. There are no really other towers that he can move for or support with, so why not just deny farm away from the opposition? And you can't really be punished anywhere else on the map. The best thing that G2 can do right now is invest towards the bot side. You can see how awkward it is for Jezu right now. I think this is a situation where what Jezu and Lilip should have done is actually push that wave all the way underneath the second tier 2, escort the Herald towards the tier 2 tower to make sure that that wave doesn't get frozen on. But they're now going to use their numbers advantage to move into the enemy jungle, see if they can steal away some jungle camps, steal away the red, but unfortunately for them, not going to be there. But they will have that early setup on the Drake, as we now see Caps in a little bit of danger. Or is Genax perhaps the one in danger?
He might be, has no flash, could look to go all in on Reckless. Now we've seen Genax do these 2v1 plays before. It was in spring playoffs against Fnatic that he was able to turn the game around. They still lost it in the end, but Genax is trying to do it once again. All the TP's coming in. Jankos on a killing spree, and he dives forward for blue. Treats, Lilip, and Jezu all here to defend as well. Jankos still chasing, Spectral more available, but don't really want to target that one on Treats, because of course he has that stun resistance. Wonder though, has the Hexagol to made him. Lilip's going to flash away. They're the chains from Caps. SK might still want to take this fight. Hexagol made him coming in. There's the solo player hits too. And Reckless dives in. Killer Instinct with an instinct to kill. Another for the Kai'Sa.
So G2 find themselves with 2 quick kills. Genax thinks that he can go for that exchange, but without his flash, he felt like that it was better for him to fight than it was for him to run. He knew that Blue had the TP and they tried to answer back, but unfortunately the TPs were a little too delayed. And SK could not support their top laner, so G2 convert that into 2 kills. They're going to get themselves their first Drake of the game. And they've managed to amount into a 1k gold lead. This could even result in more plates for Reckless, but he's going to choose to reset instead. So yeah, SK need to be careful in some of these early plays. Remember that they do scale quite well into the late game. They do have a very powerful teamfight comp, and the fact that this Viego is just getting stronger is a big point of concern for this SK line.
Oh, it definitely is. Jankos on a carry can be absolutely deadly. First time he's played the Viego this season, but already 3-1-2 with that Divine Sunder. A complete Wonder here can walk away. No hard CC on Treats means that you cannot interrupt that hookshot wall dive. And G2 only with a 500 gold lead, but with Jankos being in such a strong position, the question really is, can SK keep this Viego under wraps?
Yeah, I do think that it's interesting how Jankos' split has been statistically. He doesn't have the best stats. But I think that his impact has been felt in many of the team's games. You know, like you can see that his K+A, not the most active early game jungler in the league. His kill participation compared to other junglers at 15 is actually one of the lowest. And in terms of early gold advantages, it's not the great. So the stats don't represent him super well. However, his performance, even just last week, was fantastic. He had a really great game on day 1, and then on day 2 against Fnatic, he really gapped Whippo. Like, he was putting that Karthus in the ground, he was using his priority very well, and I think that in this situation, Jankos, he's not fully represented in what he's done for G2 this split, and I think that his impact really has been felt in a lot of situations where they have struggled.
And especially, as you said, in the second half of the season, where G2 have really begun to come alive. You can see much bigger gold leads for them, much higher kill games at the 15-minute mark. They're getting more towers. They're getting more towers than their opponents, and they are just having much more G2-esque early games and much more G2-esque games across the board. Here, relatively even, but still with a 500 gold lead as we get towards the 15-minute mark. Jankos in a good position with that first item complete. And now, as the map opens up a little bit more, we'll see how much he can use the advantage that he has. Caps as well, having a good game here on the LeBlanc. Caps' LeBlanc has always been something to be feared, and currently sitting at 2-1-3 with almost that mythic item. Wonder's going to dive here on Genax. Hexagoldamatum is available, and guess who's in the area? It's the birthday boy himself, looking for a bit of a party in the top lane. Jankos on a rampage, 4-1-2.
Yeah, I think credit to Wonder. Wonder did a lot of the work in that play, and Jankos came
Jungle
in for the
diff.
cleaner.
Jungle diff,
Well, definitely feels like that right now as Jankos continues to have impact on the map. Treats is trying to cross map on the bot side, a little bit underneath the tower here. Good sidestep.
Oh, that was really good. He was dead there otherwise. Body slam into Cask, or Cask into body slam would have just locked him up for too long. Able to escape. You can see SK unable to get that tower out of the exchange.
The trade is going to be Jankos securing the second Rift Herald of the game. Going to be helpful when securing the mid-tier 1. G2 Siege is not the strongest, especially when playing against a Tristana and a Syndra, whose wave clear is very good. It's going to be difficult for G2 to approach. They have caught Treats. That's a lot of damage.
Treats does have the maximum dosage, though, so he's going to heal himself up quite a bit. And Mickey, both the support showing us a bit of fancy feet there to get away from respective skill shots. He'll be able to escape. This tower should go down, though.
Certainly will. G2 were not able to secure the top tower in exchange for this one that SK get in bot. But they will be able to close the gold gap just a little bit. So SK keeping the gold very even, but it still feels like G2's early game for the most part. When we talked about the draft, we talked a lot about how G2 want to try and get ahead in the early game. They have a lot more of a 1-3-1 comp, so when you are playing this, typically, you want your side laners to be in a great position. The LeBlanc has been able to get a great early leads, already securing the Ludens, whereas for Wonder, while he hasn't had a huge amount of investment from jungle, he's still in a great position. He's not very far behind Genex. In fact, he's even in levels, he's even in farm, he has his first item completed, and so he's only going to continue to scale up and be an even bigger threat as the game continues. So I think that G2 have definitely played towards their win conditions in the early game. It's now just a matter of breaking down these outer towers, then start moving into the 1-3-1, start playing along these side lanes and making sure that they don't get baited into any huge 5v5 team fights, which is kind of the position that SK wants to be in.
The question really is, are SK strong enough to take a 5v5?
Probably not right now.
Yeah, that's my thought. And the good thing for SK is, of course, they were able to pick up one of those early Drakes, so they kind of stopped G2 from scaling up too quickly with those. And Jezu, yeah, I'm sorry, mate. You're pretty... Oh, flashes away. Heartbreaker misses. Jankos! 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 No! On his birthday, Reckless flashes in for the kill. And will be able to secure it, but Trees is going to try and chase down this Kai'Sa. The Killer Instinct will give him the shield. TP's coming in from SK as they look for a fight that perhaps they can take. Reckless trying to fight against the Mundo, but you just don't beat the Doctor. Treats gets the kill. Reckless Sadie carry in 2021. Lull isn't able to do too much. Mickey with the Cask here. But that's the fear beyond death as Yenix reels him in. And 3 quick kills to SK.
Yeah, what should have been an easy dive for G2 ends up in a huge fight win for SK. They have to invest a couple TPs and they'll likely lose their mid-tier 1, but they'll be able to get themselves their second Drake of the game and a nice amount of gold. Even getting the shutdown off of Jankos as well, going to be huge for Jezu. SK definitely haven't given up in this game yet. You can see the gold rather, is still very even in this game. Let's have a look back at this, see what happens. So, Caps, he's very patient with the E. He uses his ult in first, then the W, and then he gets knocked back, so it doesn't connect. Then the flash out, the side step from Jezu. Then he procs the bomb with the Hail of Blades. Oh, and then he uses auto attack, and of course, he doesn't have anything left in the tank. He's just got nothing. I think Jezu even popped a health pot there to just keep him barely alive, and then Reckless trying to use the Herald to kite around Treats, but he's also finding that huge minion wave as well, which just is not helping his efforts. He's split off from the rest of his team as SK then looks to get the collapse onto Mickey.
That scan of the week across the wall.
Just barely lands. The E from Genex, then the ult, and 3 quick kills going over to SK, and much needed kills as well. Remember that they are playing a little bit more of that 5v5. The fact that Jezu is now the kill lead, or the gold leader rather, is huge for SK because they still have this strong front line that they'll be able to play around as the game continues. And with this Drake lead, it'll be easier to force G2 into fights, given that this will be a prominent and important objective as the game progresses.
Yeah, you mentioned Treats on this Mundo in draft against Mad Lions. He had a stellar performance, was really able to put the team on his back, and once again here, 2-0-2, that frontline tank that his team needs him to be. Yes, he can 1v1 an AD carry. Mundo can just do that, apparently, these days, but also...
Most things can 1v1 an AD carry. I've seen a Leona 1v1 an AD carry, too.
Yeah, but my Leona's pretty good, so...
Right, true. That makes sense.
I remember the good old Further of Battle Leona days, when it was like...
Good old.
Oh, mate, those were
Don't think that was... You mean the time that Ignar did it in the Ardent Sensor meta?
Oh, that was beautiful.
Okay.
Bring back justice for supports, I think is what I'm arguing for.
I think that what we've learned is that AD carries, clearly a super weak role. Oh look, and they've brought up 2 of the best AD carries in the league, just like that, and then just as a reminder, oh, are they really that weak? In any case. It's very good for SK that Jezu is strong.
Finished his second item now as well, has the Phantom Dancer.
Did he complete it? I thought he was close to. Yes, he has. Okay, then he is very strong. So I think earlier you said, would SK be strong enough to win the fight? I said no. Right now, they're probably feeling a lot more confident than they were a little bit earlier on. With Genax hitting level 12, having completed the Titanic Hydra. Still, Urgot probably not at his strongest point, but with the HP that he has, and the small amount of resistances available to him, he's going to act as an effective enough front line for Jezu and Blue to dish out the damage on the back.
At the moment, the question is, can G2 find avenues back? Well, I was gonna say back into this game. They are still ahead, but they need to find avenues where they can enact their 1-3-1 composition without being caught out, like we saw a couple of moments ago. Because for G2, it's not all done. You know, usually by this point in the season, they're sitting first, second spot in the standings. They know that they are already locked into playoffs, or at least close enough to it. Here they sit at 7 and 6, and they don't have the easiest schedule left to play. 9 wins, really the cutoff that we're looking for to pretty much get yourself into playoffs. 10 wins would guarantee it for you, of course. But they have Misfits and Mad, 2 teams that have almost or have already qualified. And then Schalke XL. And Schalke, well, we know how they always beat G2. They did it earlier in the season. And XL continue to look like they're going from strength to strength.
And so what's funny is if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see the L and the Ws, which refers to the last time they met.
Yep.
And 3 of those teams are losses.
Exactly.
G2, yeah, so of course the XL one was the introduction of Marcoon. The Schalke one was where they just got hard outclassed. And the Misfits one, was the Elder Dragon. So it's one of those things where like the rematches will be a big indicator of have G2 gotten to a point where they have been able to grow, if they've been able to work through their issues. Right now, they're going toe-to-toe with SK. Could this be that SK is just now finding their form? Are they now in a position where they can challenge most teams in the early game? They definitely feel more confident. They seem to have a draft that they can rely on and execute well. But how will G2 handle this mid-game? Because I quite like their early game. I like the fights. I like the skirmishes. I like the fact that they played through caps and they used caps to move him around the map. But some of their TP plays have not been the best. They have been punished for a couple of the plays that they tried to make. And the longer this game goes, like, I think execution is going to be a big deal, but I just think that SK's comp later on to the game is just much easier to play. Whereas G2 requires really good patience around side lanes, making sure that you have good wave management, setting up correct vision around your side lanes so that you can really enable Wonder. Like, it's going to require very good execution, and so it'll be a good indicator of how much G2 has been able to change over the last week of play.
And we don't often see these sort of more split push orientated comps in the current meta. A lot of it around dragon fights, around these team fights, getting towards Soul, getting towards Elder.
Speaking of.
And Caps has TP'd into this fight. Caps going in, Lilith there on the front line, pops the stopwatch, TP coming in. Wonder dives onto Jezu on the back line. The most gold in the game, but that stopwatch gonna keep him alive. Wonder trying to do what he can, but Treats is on a killing spree, and Jezu is still alive. Watch that Tristana. Reckless has dived in and killed off Blue, but Tristana still there, and now G2, only 3 members strong, have to fight against 4. Jankos, the greatest Cinder in the game, apparently, as he manages to get Caps a double. A beautiful scat of the week from Jankos from the side. He goes in with the Leona as well, but Genax is just trying to fight for his life. Can't quite do it. And Jankos turns the fight for G2.
Oh my god, Jankos! What a smurf play that was. I was not expecting that. I was about to call the fight done and dusted because SK, the fact that Jezu had stayed alive, great use of the stopwatch, great use of the ultimate, and the fact that all of SK was like, protect the president. Immediately they all dive to keep him alive, and let's just watch it again in the team fight. So you can see the collapse comes through. G2, they're like, we have the numbers advantage while SK have TPs, let's get a quick pick. Wonder on the flank, dives onto Jezu, and then watch all of SK immediately turn onto Wonder and then say, no, 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 protect Jezu. Then he flashes out of range of Jankos, he tries to ult him, gets ulted back, but this was crucial. The death of Blue here. While Reckless is out of the fight, I'm thinking, oh, okay, SK can just clean up this fight, there's no way Caps can kill this front line, but Jankos takes the Syndra, QEs over the wall, and then Caps is able to get the cleanup. Very well executed by Jankos, really did turn the team fight in favor of G2 there, and then Caps and Reckless getting a few cleanup kills at the end.
Dive in from Reckless with that killer instinct helps Jankos get the kill on Blue. They get the reset, and because of that, they win the fight. Second dragon of the game goes over to G2 as well. With it, a 2,000 gold lead. And you see Genax once again having a great performance on this Urgot, but Jezu was killed before he could do too much in that fight. Just didn't have the time to auto-attack, and as much as, of course, killing off the AD carry is important, stopping the AD carry from autoing is just as important. Jezu, though, still now with that Phantom Dancer Kraken Slayer complete. If he can survive through a fight, he can do a lot, but no flash, no heal, no stopwatch on that Tristana anymore. And Wonder can still just go in with the Hexagon Ultimatum. Caps is there, can double distort in with the chains. Makes it very difficult for Jezu to navigate the next fight.
Thinking about summoners as well. A lot unavailable on the side of SK. I think that for now, G2 just want to primarily play through the side lanes. You can already see Wonder moving towards the bot lane. You'll notice that Blue constantly pushed underneath his tower. The Syndra never really wants to be in the side lane, and Blue can't risk pushing out another wave because the risk of a collapse is very real. You will also notice that Wonder is not hard pushing this lane just yet. There's no reason to fast push it because if he does, the wave is just going to get caught. So instead, he's holding it here, just last hitting, so that they can generate other points of pressure on the map. So now as he pushes in the wave, look, mid is now starting to crash in mid. Now, of course, no other G2 members there actually to catch the wave, but also look at top. That wave is also now starting to push in as well. So as the Camille has that wave hit underneath the tower and Genax is forced to catch it, there are actually other points of pressure on the map that G2 can look to leverage, where Wonder can base, he can potentially TP if a player is up and available, or they can just use it as a bigger window to actually get a reset off, spend their money, invest in a couple more control wards. As you can see from their inventory, quite a few control wards at their disposal, and overall a good investment. So just good play there from Wonder, good patient play, and SK is just kind of forced to play on the defensive right now because they're at their best when they're grouped as a 5, when they can leverage their teamfight power and they can leverage their front to back, but when it comes to the side lanes, they cannot risk overextending just because of how easy it is for G2 to collapse and get picks off in the side lane, and in their straight up 1v1s, G2 will just likely come out on top.
G2 is so strong individually right now. Caps with the Medjai, Soul Stealer, 10 stacks on that alongside the Rabadons and the Ludens. No defense on that LeBlanc, no Zhonya's, no stopwatch. Just looking for the all-in damage, that all-in burst. And of course, LeBlanc very good at getting away from teams without pure hard CC. Only the Leona really with that point-and-click stun. Of course, Blue has a knockback, but it's very easy to distort away from that as a LeBlanc. Genax here trying to trade onto Wonder. Those shotgun knees doing quite a bit of damage, but Wonder about half HP will be able to walk away. Now the Baron has been started. Genax no TP. Wonder has his. Wonder can reset or just walk his way across. G2 disengage. Mickey going in, looking for Lilith. That's half of the Leona's health gone down before the fight really begins, but Caps and Reckless had taken a chunk as well. Wonder worked his way across, but wasn't able to get there in time for a fight.
So I think that G2 were mainly just trying to make SK sweat a little bit there, force them to commit a TP, force them to overcommit. Maybe G2 could find themselves a pick. I think that it's just one of those things where you're testing the waters almost. The waves are in a great spot for G2 because they had top pushed in and bot pushed in. Wonder could come in from the side lane and contest the mid wave. Basically, like, the map state was just good for G2 to try it, and it was easy for them to disengage if they felt like that the fight wasn't a good one for them. So just good awareness, good play overall. I liked it. SK, though, they're not going to lose too much of the back of it. Still able to catch their waves, still able to stay relevant. You can see that a couple more items being completed. Anathema's chains now done for treats. That's
Anathema.
Anathema, anathema. It's like tomato, tomato.
No, because anathema is a word, and anathema is an imaginary girl that you've made up.
What? Okay. Oddly specific.
Anathema
Do you know
is definitely
anathema?
a girl. No, that's why she's imaginary.
Okay.
Anathema.
Right, so the chains that have been completed for treats. Observers, can you figure out who they've been bound to? Because I'm not entirely sure. The TP is now going to come in from, I believe that is LeBlanc from the flank.
Caps on a ward though.
Spot out, yeah.
However, Caps can just jump in. Now puts a control ward of his own in that bush. We'll know that they know that he's there. Dragon down to about 300. Lilith going in with the Solar Flare, but can't quite land it. That Dragon down now secured by Jankos. Lilith ignited, and now the fight really begins as G2 can push forward. Treat's trying to get away. Genax caught out by Wonder. Reckless diving in with the Killer Instinct as well. And Genax can pop the stopwatch all he wants, but immediately afterwards he goes pop. Wonder with the kill. G2 with the teamfight win.
The moment that failed hard engage came through for SK, it was going to be a difficult fight for them. So much of their utility just immediately vanishes. G2 looking for a little bit more.
Caps go! Oh, Blue! He's just gone all the way back to the fountain. Nothing he could do about that, and Jankos is on the chase. Treats will be stunned. Not often you see a Mundo CC'd, but for the moment, G2 continue on the chase. Jezu gets one, jumps away, as Jankos steals away the body of the Mundo and will turn his eyes towards the Baron.
And just like that, G2 have claimed full control over the game. They played very well around their side lanes. They kept the pressure up, forcing SK to be split. They didn't get the initial setup on the Drake. G2 was able to play that beautifully, and now they're able to secure the Baron. SK, that was not the fight that they were looking for, unfortunately. They wanted the clean front to back team fight. Let's just look at the engage here from Lilip. They know that Caps is on the flank. They spot him out on the wards, and Lilip is just waiting for him to get close enough for the engage to come through. But even if the engage does come through, I'm doubtful that the follow-up will be there, and he committed everything, expecting that to commit. But now look, Jezu is not hitting anyone. He cannot do a thing in this team fight because his front line and his crowd control immediately disappears. The overcommit and the exchange was just too forced from SK. A bit of a blunder from Lilip there, and it costs SK so much.
I mean, the thing is, as Jezu, what do you do if you don't have that front to back, if you don't have those people standing in front of you? Because as soon as you get anywhere near Caps, that's an 18-stack Medjai's 550-odd ability power LeBlanc, who's already level 17, just jumping on you.
It's
like,
also
one distort is half your health.
It's one of those things where G2's comp has a lot of single target damage, right? And if you go in one at a time, you make it so much easier for this single target damage to just hit a single target.
It's like those classic Kung Fu movies that you see, where there's 20 people surrounding one guy, but they all just go in at once and get punched away.
Right, exactly. And so in a team fight like that, they were just funneling in one at a time, making it so much easier for G2 to actually execute on the fight, and they end up coming out on top. And now with the Baron buff, they can kind of do whatever they want. They have huge level advantages all across the board. They have huge gold advantages, 18 stacks of the Medjai's. You can see the Cap's about to hit level 18 on the LeBlanc. He can just make fun of SK at this point with the amount of damage he has.
SK, though, did have a good start to this game, so as much as they are losing to G2 right now and are likely to lose it, they can take heart for the rest of the playoff race, perhaps. Janax caught out in the side lane as Reckless goes on a rampage on this Kai'Sa. 6-1-5, a return to form after his performance against Fnatic last week.
And as a quick reminder, Mad will lock a playoff spot with G2's victory in this game. So that race for playoffs is only going to get tighter as Misfits has also locked themselves a spot. G2 now knocking on the doors of SK's base. Very little still remains as SK are doing everything they can, but with a member down, it's hard to defend the multi-pronged attack.
This is the power of having strong side lanes. You can just push in. That's an inhibitor down. Third inhibitor tower now on the menu for G2. They'll secure it. Wonder jumping in. Lilip takes half his health. Blue caught out with a single Phase Seeker there as well. Chunk him out. He might have to go back to the fountain. That's the third inhibitor down. 33 minutes in. G2 secure all three inhibs. Actually looks like they're going to back away here. The chase is on for SK. They want to try and catch out Jankos, but they won't be able to do it. Baron falls off. And G2 with a 10,000 gold lead can look to start closing this one out. And as you said, it locks Mad a spot in playoffs, but also gets G2 just that little bit closer. They only have 4 games left after today, with Misfits, Mad, Schalke, and XL on the menu. They only need to pick up 1 win from those games to lock themselves in playoffs. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1. We'll say 2. If they get 2 wins, they're definitely in playoffs. I'm pretty sure 1 win gets you in playoffs.
After this win.
After this one.
Right. So, G2 looking like they will be able to secure that playoff spot. And then the fight for seeding is a big deal as well, because there are, of course, points from Spring that will influence seeding, so I don't really want to touch that territory. But it's definitely going to be important where you can end at the regular season. And of course, G2 is competing with both Mad and Misfits, 2 big games for them that can potentially help them fight for different seeds throughout the playoff.
I think the big thing for seeding, as we have a moment while G2 pushing their waves, is really for Fnatic. They want to make sure they get a high spot because they didn't get that many points in spring season. G2, of course, finished up in 3rd, so they managed to get quite a few points, meaning they are pretty much locked in for a top 4 playoffs berth, assuming that they qualify for playoffs.
And remember, when it comes to the race to Worlds, you have to be in playoffs.
Yep.
Top 3 from playoffs will be Europe's representatives, and if you're in the upper bracket especially, it basically means you only have to win one best of 5 to get yourself a spot at the World Championship. So seeding definitely a lot of stakes as G2 now looking to end the game against SK.
Yeah, SK gonna struggle with all these super minions pushing in, but you can see Camps has already been chunked down a little bit. Wonder down to half HP as well. Lilip looking for the flash engage, can't quite land the Zenith play. That first Nexus tower, about half of its hit points have gone. Some of the armor chipped away from that tower. Scatter the Weak goes wide. Wonder dives into the middle of SK. Will have to flash away. The Solar Flare going just just a little bit away from where Wonder was. Cap still pushing in, looking for Lilith, flashes in, messes up the distortion and has to pop the stopwatch because otherwise those tower shots would have found their mark. Blue though dived on by Mickey and Wonder. And now in a 4v5, SK can't really defend. The first Nexus tower goes down. Reckless dives in, Wonder dives in, Jankos dives in, and all SK do is die. Treats trying to survive, trying to find a way back into the game, but he just can't do it. Reckless with a double. Jezu, holy moly, that damage is absurd from Caps. The chains don't land. Genax acting as a good body block, but G2, after trying to kill off Jezu and Genax on the fountain, will secure the win and will lock Mad Lions into playoffs.